Hello, folks. I'm going live. I have to sing about it because talking about childbirth is almost always my favourite thing to do. So, we're here to talk to Tracy of the Gentle Birth Official about our favourite thing, which is childbirth. And what we're here to do today is to fix it all. We're putting it all right. We've got the answer, folks. We've got all the answers. So she creates the most amazing reels as well and posts beautiful birth videos and shares information for the benefit of mothers and children. So families, the whole families. So I am looking for her, and I just going to invite her because I don't think she's joined yet. Where is she? Right, let me call her. Hope she's remembered. I hope. In the UK. So I've just invited her and hopefully she'll join. Tracy!
How are you?
No, I was nervous for a minute. I thought, I've messed up the time zones.
No, I'm on Irish time. And I tell you, I've just had one of those days where technology has just not really wanted to participate.
Reply?
Oh, no, with headphones and everything. So can you hear me okay?
Oh, I can hear you beautifully. Yeah, and I'm very excited. And I'm sure people must have heard you speak before and know that you're a powerhouse.
They're probably hearing me speaking. That's the problem. I think both of us are very opinionated and feel very passionately about women having great experiences.
You are kind of a twin, I have to say. And so many times I go, well, yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I love the way you express your admiration for childbirth and your energy for supporting so many to manifest a safe and healthy birth. So I have an idea that I just want to chew the fat with you for an hour and let people enjoy it. But I have to say again, what's been forced on the agenda today, I don't know if you've seen it over there, is a BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. I have a very love-hate relationship with them, most of it hate, because they can't really be trusted to act in they can't really be trusted to act in the best interests of us.
Right.
You will normally find that they've spread a number of lies and facilitated enough false flags, etc. So they put an article out today about the Care Quality Commission, CQC, here in the UK, has found that 2/3 of the maternity units are below standard for safety, right? So they've put that out with quite a slanty, biased piece of writing underneath, constituting a news article, and I use the word news with air quotes, but you can sense from the way it's going when they mention James Titcombe and the Royal College of Midwives talking their vacuous shit like they always do, you realise what they're really wafting you to is, you know what, it's really dangerous having a vaginal birth.
Oh, stop.
So why don't you just have a cesarean? It's safer. And then all the units can get paid double per birth than they getting paid for the handful of vaginal births that they do. So, call me cynical. I'm just saying that's the way it's wafting. And I wanted to know what your thoughts might be. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it?
I didn't see it, but I'm based not based. I'm living in the States now, but I'm in Ireland this week, and I've been meeting with a couple of midwives and doulas here, and I'm very much still part of the birth community here, and rattling cages as often as I can when to what we need to be doing, you know. But I would say, you know, for the longest time, the UK has actually, you've done a lot better than Ireland has. And it is atrocious here at the moment.
It is. I hear that it is bad.
It's really, and it is. This is the worst I think I've ever seen it. So
the same with the UK. We're was bad. Like, I know there's was it the Mayo maternity unit has a 60% cesarean rate for first-time birthers and stuff like. But we're doing the same shit here. It's the same. We just hide it. Do you know the NHS dared to say that the cesarean rate is 27.8%? They dared to say it. It's like double that.
Like picking them out of the air now, just, you know, right?
Or out of their crack, Tracy.
I wasn't sure if we could, like, you know, embellish on language like that during this. But if you wanted to go full Irish.
Oh no, actually, no, I don't.
Okay.
Because full Irish it may be even too strong.
Probably for later this evening. Yeah. But yeah, it's I think since COVID, like, well, here in COVID, we just, you know, there was, you know, partners weren't allowed in, doulas weren't allowed in, and I just knew, I said, because the hospitals had been pushing back for a long time on, you know, women, you know, getting involved in their own care, trying to make informed decisions, and COVID came along, and I you know, I talked to so many of our kind of birthy people here saying, I'm worried about what's going to happen during COVID and what's going to happen after. I feel like we're going backwards, and we've gone dark ages. Not even.
We are going medieval. We're going full medieval, and you see the thing about it's so amazing. I remember when I saw the whole situation cascading into a bin over the virus, and I thought at the time, this is our opportunity. There's a book called Pushed, and in it describes when there was a hurricane, it hit a town, and the very wise decision was made that we need to keep the surgical services for people that have been injured because of the hurricane. So if you're pregnant, which is a normal thing to be, and has happened for many hundreds of thousands of years, if you're pregnant, you're not actually ill. So how about you just avoid the maternity unit? And they had a 96% physiological birth rate, right? Rather than the usual 60% or whatever. And so the midwives saw it. I know the midwives are perpetuating this nonsense, but that's another conversation. The midwives in that town saw it and said, right, well, so why are we asking women to come in for this, that, and the other, when suddenly, you know, you didn't want them to come in and their babies are popping out in all sorts of beautiful ways. And then so we're not bringing back the policies that we used to work with. We're going to keep this one. And of course, they all got the sack. Yes, they did. Yeah. They all got the sack because they wouldn't work to the policies that have been shown to increase the chance of intervention. You know, so we had a chance to do it with COVID, but instead we upped it. We actually were inducing because of the scamdemic. And then they went one further. You know, they then started to tell women, you know, even though it's always been unethical to enroll pregnant women into pharmaceutical experiments, we'll enroll these pregnant women into pharmaceutical experiments, right? So there's all sorts of, they buck the trend in all sorts of ways. And that's when I saw we were to hell in a handbasket. I said, if they're going to do this now, wow. And actually, I was getting messages, whistleblowers saying, oh, midwives are fighting the reintroduction of partners coming in because they don't want the women to have the advocacy or the support. They're much more malleable and compliant, and they are. I had a beautiful pregnant woman talking to me today. She says, you know, she understands research. She knows about the maternity services in the NHS, and that she's booked through the maternity services in the NHS, and she says whenever she goes to a meeting, all she does is this. She's like a nodding dog. She just agrees to everything when she knows she shouldn't, and she can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you heard about what was going on here with the home induction trial that was happening during COVID.
About that.
I think it actually finished, but I don't think they got the numbers they were expecting to. So anyone watching from the Rotunda, I got your number several times. So they were literally approaching first-time mothers, specifically young first-time mothers, including teen first-time moms, to say, listen, your partner won't be able to come in with you, like, for most of your labor, maybe all of your labor. But here's what we're going to do. If you come into us at 39 weeks, and we'll start your induction, and you can go home and you'll be able to labor at home with your partner to support you. And then you can both come in together. So it was, and if you saw the documentation that women were given, it was the most biased BS, absolutely unreal. And I think you might have spoken to other folks from Ireland here saying, what are we doing? And they were calling the ethics around this was just unreal. They were calling women at home to ask them to participate. They were not getting the information, and they based it on the Arrive trial, which I mean,
because that's not skewed or faulty methodology with a shit conclusion that doesn't relate to their results, is it?
So anyway, I'm waiting to see if it ever gets published, because I'll have a couple of letters to send to any journal that accepts it for publication based on it was just.
Well, for the start, we can report it for ethics. Ringing her at home.
Oh, they gave themselves ethical approval.
Right.
In partnership with the pharmaceutical company.
I can't wait to hear more about that. So yeah, keep us informed. Maybe you should come back if you've got time in a couple of months. Here, please. There's lots of unethical studies happening at the moment. They're study happy. Money is being showered like Haribo on all of these studies that will enable there to be introduced more intervention for them to test more toys on women, and then obviously save them all with major abdominal surgery, which obviously has no regard for the future health of the woman who's exposed to all the bowel damage, blood damage, infection, etc., and the fascia damage from being cut in half, but also the baby being born surgically, and the microbiome that they've missed out, and the excess lung fluid, and all the rest of the stuff that happens to the cesarean born children with the eczema and everything else. Our Ireland and the UK are parallel with the insanities that are wreaked on the women, people and babies in their care. When you're in America, what do you see about the system over there that is better or worse? I'd like to know both.
I mean, it's very medicalized, I have to say. But when I'm in Texas, I'm living in Texas, and when I go to births in Texas, it's still very medicalized. It's still, induction is offered routinely. You have to be really careful about your care provider. But one thing I do love about the US system is it is quite consumer driven.
Right. Good.
It's money.
So it responds.
It is a business. So it is a big business. So when I was teaching a couple of years ago, I was teaching antenatal classes for a hospital group. And just me being me, this particular hospital didn't have gas and air. So it was starting to come into the States, and I knew a couple of the local hospitals had it. So at the end of the antenatal class, after we'd gone through, pain management, all the different options, and I'd say, let me tell you about another option that you need to ask about at your next appointment, because the quicker and the more people ask for it, the sooner it'll come. So I would tell them about gas and air, all the pros and cons. And so basically what was happening was these parents were coming into their antenatal appointments saying, hey, Stanford down the street.
I love it.
So I mean, is like, you know, we really want to have that option.
Yeah.
So maybe we should take our dollars
Right.
down the street. So
Yeah.
it definitely changed it, and it put pressure on them. You know, I got grief, of course, for you're not to be telling them about this,
Well,
and I wasn't to tell.
Helpful.
Yeah, I wasn't to tell them about delayed cord clamping either. That was a big.
Oh, because it's ethical.
Oh, the stories I could tell, but it was, yeah, so it's much more consumer driven. So that if you go in with your wallet, they're listening to you.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's still very. I mean, there's no midwifery the way there is midwifery here and midwifery in the UK. It's, you're working for the most part with obstetric nurses, and they mean well, but they are not midwives. And
I want you to qualify that, because I'm a bit of a bitch on this subject.
Yeah.
Right. So I know, like Americans, I hear them say it to us all the time. You're so lucky you've got midwives over there. And I said, oh no, there's still only a handful of midwives here. Most of the people with the title midwife are obstetric nurses or midwives or betraying bitches. Yeah. Betraying bitches. Yeah. So that's what we've got here. And I know people are going to get so upset. But, you know, I talk to too many women that have been butchered in childbirth because the midwife that they blindly trusted threw them under the bus. So, yeah, I said it. Okay.
Yeah, no, and it's, I mean, if you're lucky enough, and if you have the option for a birth center, if you have the option for home birth, great. But most women in the US do not have that option. So they're going into a system that is, you know, incredibly expensive. If you don't have health insurance, I mean, you're literally billed for every cotton bud, every itemized bill for, it's ridiculous amounts of money. But you might be lucky enough to find a hospital that has midwives on staff, but it's likely to be one midwife so if she's on shift, great. If she's not, and then even that midwife, even though she might have a little bit more of a holistic approach, she still works for the hospital, and she's still been institutionalized for the most part. But that's been my experience. So there's good and bad, but
paying out of pocket, I understand that in the US, if you have to, rather than your insurers paying for your care, if you pay out of pocket, because I know a lot of people that have health insurance that includes the maternity care, but they actually still don't use it. They will go and pay out of pocket, because then they can find that person that's going to suit them with regards to holistic care in childbirth, etc. So, and I've been told that it doesn't cost quite as much as it does here in the UK. So in dollars, they may pay for a CPM, certified professional midwife, which is like a direct entry midwife, which is what I am here in the UK, or was, because I deregistered. I've heard that they can end up paying something between $4,000, $5,000, whilst in the UK, you would never get somebody that cheap for the entire birth care. It's going to be more.
Yeah, I mean, I think a standard, when I say standard vaginal birth in a hospital, you're probably, I think the last time I looked was about 18,000.
Wow.
That's what's being insured, you know, so it's a money racket. And when you see
18,000 for a woman that grew a baby, went into spontaneous labor and gave birth to that baby, what are they spending 18 grand on what?
Well, you know that women that are left to labor cost more. Because this is what they'll tell us. The research says if we have women laboring, then it means we have to have more staff on the floor, and it's not scheduled, so we can't just roll them through. So you have someone who's laboring a bit longer or a little bit less, and it's not predictable. You have to have pediatrics around the corner. When I'm working with clients, and I explain to them how, like, when you walk into the unit, and I'm not sure how it is in the UK, but most American units, you walk into the unit and there's a big whiteboard as soon as you walk in.
And
you can tell how busy that unit is. And how, and depending on if your goal is a physiological birth, you'll know by the numbers, okay, this is really going to happen, and So they would be brought around to a room, and we'll ask specifically for someone that can, that's on staff that will support physiological birth, because some of the hospitals, when I was in California, they had like 80 to 90% epidural rate for first time mothers. So staff did not have a really good handle on how to support.
90%.
Yeah.
And we know how epidurals tip what could be a healthy birth into a very dramatic one.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but I would,
and of course, there's much more time. Wow. So there's much more time, of course. However, if it was a spontaneous physiological birth, they'll probably find that they're spending much less time in labour and much less toys used, right? No, but anyway.
Once the toys used, because the more toys we use, the higher the bill.
I know. It's really horrible.
So when I tell couples, I said, here's what's happening. And I think it's probably the same in the UK. Here's what's happening on a busy night in the labour ward. Let's say we've got room 1 and we have room 2. So in room 1, behind door number 1, we have the parents who have really prepared themselves. They understand how to navigate the system. They've taken really good birth preparation. They have preferences. And they're all on the same page. And then you have, behind door number 2, you have the couple maybe who've come in and we're going to go with the flow. I trust
God,
I just want to come out of here with my baby in my arms, and I don't want to tell them what to do. So when I say, okay, so we've got door number 1, door number 2. So at any point on that busy night, there is a conversation that's happening out at the desk between the staff saying, okay, we have got premature twins coming in. We have all of these that we know are coming in. We need to move some people along. So we're going to go to room number 1 who know their shit. They are prepared. They have a doula. They have done their work. Or they're going to go into room number 2 who have just said, let's see what happens. Room 1 is not, that door ain't opening. Room number 2.
Who wants to work? Yeah, so room number 2. So, and 95% of women, sadly, would be in the situation that room number 2 is in, behind door number 2. So that's why. Well, so you see, I can see the incentive for cesarean birth really clearly now, for in a US maternity unit. And here, what we have driving it is that you get awarded double for cesarean birth. The unit does, of public funds. Yeah, public funds. You get awarded double for a surgical birth than you would for a vaginal birth. Yeah. So it's not that you know they get sent a check on the day. It's like the numbers are counted up when budgeting for the following year and what they're going to apply for and what they're going to get. Yeah. So here in this country, we have around 50% cesarean rate. I know it's around the same in Ireland, and I've asked many times those that work in America. So you'll probably agree because you work there that your cesarean rate is around still 32%. Is that? Oh.
Well, it depends, because it's hard to get the data.
Yeah.
And some states have much higher rates, and so.
Okay, so it could be the same.
I wouldn't be surprised, if the US was pretty close as well. And there is that definite financial incentive. You're talking, I think, insurance billing for a C-section, I know in California is probably 40,000, maybe more.
Okay, right. Yeah,
that's
so that's double the 18,000 for vaginal birth.
Yeah. Now in Ireland is a little different. There isn't a huge financial incentive in Ireland for cesarean. So it's much more on it's a better option, it's convenient, we do like to try for vaginal birth, but a C-section, not a bad deal.
Try for vaginal birth.
It's like they're the same, you know, like you'll be home with your baby, and because it's been so normalized, cesareans,
Wow.
it's just not a big deal.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. So what do you think, because evolution will not tell well on where we are at the moment. If you go to the classroom, and things have got much worse now, like you say, since the scamdemic, but already we see reflected in the classroom, because most children are still going to the indoctrination camp called a school. When you go in there, you will find many troubled children. Yeah, right. And many ill children. You know, you'll have the asthmatic ones, and the ones with eczema potentially, you know, not just because of what we give them after they're born, you know, at 8 weeks and 12 weeks, but also because of their mode of birth. So we have that now. So, you know, we have a lot of troubled children in the school, and we weren't having a 50% cesarean rate until 2 years ago, or a year or two, 18 months. So what would you, we have so much in common, and you have, you know, I'm a bit jealous, you've taken things a bit further, you've applied yourself better. My you know, ADD was preventing me from focusing on a few things, so you're an inspiration.
No.
What are you
trying to figure this out, you know?
What are you bringing to the table for parents to help? Because we know that the units are not going to stop this train. It's in their interest to keep it going. Yeah. So I see you targeted the parents. So what is it that you're hoping to affect with parents to make this situation better for themselves and their babies, the future generation?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you experience the very same in the UK, is when you're talking about the benefits of physiological birth, or the benefits of just avoiding all of the just being women. Like I mean, it's just I saw somebody today who had gone to our national maternity hospital. It's known as Holles Street, and it's where active management of labour came from.
I know. I don't know what I'll do if I ever visit that place.
It's like in the door you come, and we're going to break your waters, and there's no discussion about you can't even go into the delivery suite until you've had your waters broken. I've had women tell me that they were left on their hands and knees on the ground in pain, and the midwife telling her, I'm not going to bring you in here into the labor room until you agree to putting on a CTG and having your waters broken. So this is the level of abuse we're dealing with in Ireland. It's not just we're intervening. Yeah.
Do babies have rights in Ireland?
Well, how do you mean?
Over here in the UK, sorry, I confused you. Does a fetus have rights in Ireland?
Not since the abortion rights finally came into Ireland. So, but even that has not really trickled down, because women are being coerced into, you need to think your baby. We're thinking of your baby. You're not thinking of your baby. You're, you know, because you want this, you know, experience of birth. It's, yeah. And I have to say, I know there's going to be people who are watching this freaking out thinking, oh my God, Holles Street, whatever. There is something very dark in Irish maternity services within midwifery.
Yeah.
Within midwifery, that for some reason gives midwives permission to be really horrible to vulnerable women, really horrible. And I get, the experiences I've had as a doula in the Irish system, and then as a student midwife in the Irish system. Yeah, it's, and I don't, again, it's like, so for me, what am I bringing to the table? It's, not everybody wants to hear the message. Not everybody is going, you know, we can plant the seeds, and sometimes people will come back after having, unfortunately, a really traumatic first birth, and they come back and they say, you know, I remember seeing that TikTok or something, and I thought, I'll be all right. And
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, and it's, so I think this has to be grassroots. I think even the midwives who are trying to make a difference, it's very hard for them. You're either bullied out of it or bullied into silence.
Yeah, you're right.
And then so it's like, so all we can do, I think, you know, all of us together, is can we get some good information to parents to help them understand you are walking into a very challenging environment.
Yeah.
But everyone's going to be really nice to you, and which is the part that kind of trips you up, because they're so.
It's the most revolting thing. It's just the slimiest form of coercion. How sickly sweet, you know, they can be. And I'm going to say they, even though it's me. You know, I'm a birth worker, right? You know, I was taught in midwifery school how to smarm a woman to get her to do what she wants, what you want. And it was never, because I was trained in the noughties, it was only until 2015 where coercion went on the statute books as a criminal offence. So I was taught, they happily taught me how to smarm and coerce a mother to get her to do what you want, because it's your hospital policy, it's more comfortable for you, you don't get shouted at by your workmates, you don't get disciplined or whatever, so you would just throw her under the bus so that you can save your own comfort, so you can stay in your own comfort zone.
Yeah. We're doorstepping women here in Ireland. If you kind of, you know, raise your head above the parapet and say, I'd really like an unmedicated birth, and I'm taking some classes, and those women who come in who have birth preferences and have done the preparation, it's almost like you're flagged, you know. So if somebody is already talking about their GBS positive, and they've already had the discussion about, well, I'm actually considering not having antibiotics, or whatever decision they're making, we're having social workers sent to the women's home. But this is before they go into labor, just to encourage them to comply.
Social workers?
Yeah.
How do they have the time? Okay, I'm quite shocked, you know, because my great-great-grandmother was Irish. Right, and I don't know where. That information is lost. I'd love to find it. Some of my favourite people are Irish. Who is it that is implementing this kind of regime for pregnancy and birth? Who are these people?
Well,
what's the drive?
Well, the drive is control.
Yeah.
It's always been control, and it's controlling women. And we have a long history of the Magdalene laundries, we have a horrific history of mistreatment of women and children in this country. And we think, oh, that's in the past, and we're not even close to closing that chapter in our history. We're seeing it, because I've kind of thought to myself over the last few years, since the Magdalene laundries closed, and we thought that that's a part of history we don't want to talk about anymore. But it was very obvious for me that maternity became the new Magdalene.
Yes.
That we can abuse women, we can get away with whatever we want, but it's about control. And we have a two-tier system. So we have obstetricians that they run the show, and midwives are almost seen as, well, we're seen first of all as the same as nurses, and we're there just to help the doctor. And we don't have like a kind of, you know, midwifery CEO in Ireland. There's no midwifery leadership really. We have some brilliant academics, and we do have some brilliant midwives, but the midwives are being silenced. They're caught between a rock and a hard place. And as the saying goes, like there was a national maternity strategy that was had all these great ideas. They do this every 10 years or so, a new strategy. We'll spend a lot of money on it and nothing comes out of it. But there was talk about, you know, having, you know, MLU, like, and birth centers as part of hospitals, and really getting midwifery as an independent profession. Yeah, but it's the saying, you know, turkeys don't vote for Christmas. You know, if any woman in her right mind had an appointment with that was healthy and well, had an appointment with an obstetrician 5 minutes, and then had the, you know, hour-long appointment with a midwife, and who would actually have an interest in her life, and more than just she's an incubator for a baby, you know, nobody in their right mind would be choosing obstetric-led care if they had a named midwife or small team, because they would see, and we have all the research. I mean, I think the cesarean rate in Ireland has gone up by 154%, I think, in the last 20 years.
Wow.
And it's not stopping. So if you're watching this and you're having a baby in Ireland, you got to do a bit of prep. You got to learn how to get through the system as well as you possibly can. If you assume you and baby are well, you got to put in the work.
Yeah. And do you have a way of working with women that could engage them pre-conception, or they can get involved with you pre-conception?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, most of the time I connect in with women through Gentle Birth and through the app.
Yeah.
So it's, and you know, all of our content is very much, it's, you know, evidence-based, empowering, you know, but there is, you know, you have to do the work, you know, and I know people someone will go in and it's that, you know, I'm just going to go with the flow. And like, do you understand what the hospital flow is? Because you don't have a birth plan as such. The hospital has a birth plan for you. So you might want to investigate what the plan is.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So, and there's so much fear, and because, you know, and we're seeing, you know, I think 18% birth trauma rates, and that's that's conservative. That's in
I heard it's about 30% over here in the UK.
Yeah. Oh, I'd say we're at least there as well. Yeah. But the official is 18%.
If you went into, say, if you looked at orthopedic surgery, and you know, you did some research and found out that a third of their patients were absolutely, you know, registrally traumatized, you'd close down the service, wouldn't you? You'd close it down.
Well,
a third of your patients are traumatized by the care they received. But it seems, you know, maybe it's because mostly women use maternity services, and it's mostly women that deliver the service. So there's no care or regard for the outcomes, because of course, you know, I mean, the true victims, from my point of view, are the babies, because they don't get any choices, and then they're done too in childbirth, and then they have to heal their health for some of them the rest of their lives. But you know, you've then got women, you know, I refuse to see all women as victims. Some women sabotage themselves if they're choosing, right?
You know, it's such a hard pill to swallow, but it's like, we have to accept some accountability for the decisions we make, and that's at the end. And I do not want to see one mother and baby coming through a birth, coming out on the other side, just, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically scarred.
Yeah.
But there's only so much we can do. We can kind of provide as much information as we can, but you have to, and it's not, you know, the saying, you know, knowledge is power. Not if it's left sitting in your
sitting in the boot of your car. That's right, exactly. Not if it's a manual that never gets read.
Applied knowledge. That's where the power is.
The one.
But you can, if you've been to all the classes, you've read all the books, and you go in and you sit there when they say, we're going to get you in the book now for Thursday. Sure, you're almost 40 weeks. This baby's looking a little big. If you don't stand up and say, and it doesn't have to be. I think there's this, as women, we don't like to be argumentative. We don't want to be seen as the, the birthzilla. We just want to be, get along with everybody.
You'll get along. Yeah.
And then you, when you are on the other side, you've had a difficult experience, and then I had a meeting last night. I do a VBAC meetup on Zoom with that, just to talk about trying to, navigate VBAC. That's a whole other chat we have.
Yeah.
But
we will. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Can we do that next month?
They're so angry. They're so disillusioned and let down with the system. So a lot of them are coming back into the system like, you're not going to pull the wool over my eyes again. So the system is making it more difficult for themselves, because women are coming in already on the defensive. It's like, no, shame on me. You messed around the first time, and I didn't take it, on board that this could happen.
That's right.
But I love the way you position that parents are being groomed.
Yeah.
I just love, because I thought, God, that's such an interesting way to.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And more and more I try and illuminate for people that we are in an abusive relationship with maternity services, and we keep going back for more abuse. And it's not just, and I'm sorry, this is the truth, as hard as it is. And I know a lot of people unfollow me because they don't want to hear it. And I get that, right? It's on them, really, because you're going into a criminal maternity services. They are criminals. In an ordinary world, they would be locked up. So they're getting to abuse you and get paid for it. Okay. So that's what's happening in maternity services right now. Yeah. You might play the lottery with it and find a gem, right? Yes. But my friend here, beautiful Sally Ann, sadly, it takes a village to groom women. Damn right. She's right. She's right, because you'll get it from your mother too, because she was compliant. She feels your safety is in compliance, and she will encourage you to comply, even if it means physical wounds to her daughter and her grandchild. She'll do it. You see, the thing about what is happening at the moment as well, with the shooting of the messenger, we are often getting told to be quiet because they really don't want us to keep talking. Because honestly, every time we do this, people wake up. Like, my DMs are on fire, because they would have you've triggered so many women, and thankfully some of them will do the right thing, which is ask more questions and join the dots. Not try to find one. Go on.
Recognize that, of course, there will be cases where somebody has done all the right things.
Yes,
they have, but once you walk through those doors, it's it's about we stack the odds as much as we can, but that walking through those doors, and you're being primed for intervention, and it's so dependent on the midwife that you get on the day, and how busy they are, and whether it's a weekend or not, all factors that you just haven't considered. And I know that they will feel like, I did it, I did the classes, I did everything, and it still went to hell in a handbasket. And I don't know what to do anymore to really.
It's okay, don't get frustrated, Tracy. The thing is, right, you and I both know that obstetrics has its place.
Yes.
There will be women and babies that genuinely will have a better outcome because obstetrics exists.
Yeah.
But when you've got the people that have done everything, and I mean everything, but they go into a place that sabotages the physiology of birth, most of the time, especially if you're a first-time birther, it will go down the toilet. It's just, you just really, Marston Wagner, he used to work for the UN and,
brilliant.
And anthropologist, I think, isn't he? And he said, he just pleads with us to not leave our front doors. Do not leave your house.
The first intervention is to step in your door.
It's like expecting to have an orgasm on a bus.
Yeah.
On a bus full of people, unless you're weird or Japanese or whatever, it's like expecting your physiology to all click together in the middle of, you know, Central Park, or in the middle of Piccadilly, Manchester Piccadilly station or something. It's just, of course it's not going to work, and then they're going to convince you that you need help and your baby will die if you don't accept it, and there's the coercion piece, and then you and your baby come out in broken condition. There's one thing, because I know, you know, people are wanting to, you know, really take in deep these tips, and I hope you watch the replay. This live will be on both Tracy's grid at the Gentle Birth Official and mine at Kemi Birth Joy Johnson. What another phenomena, you know, I mentioned about self-sabotage, and the role that we play in our own suffering. Yeah, we play a role, right?
Yeah.
So when talking about that, also some of what some women hope to do is to buy their safety with private care, for instance. Like, you know, I've been booked sometimes, not often, by a woman who thinks, well, I booked Kemi, so I don't need to do any work.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you know, I don't know how many physical injuries you've got, or whether you slouch in your sofa at night, or, you know, I don't know any things, or whether you've overdone it with your weightlifting and got a hypertoned pelvic floor, or whether you've been sexually abused, so you've got a tight psoas. And I don't know, I might know some of those things, but I don't know. The woman knows, and only she can fix it. So you can have 10 chemies in every room in your house, and one sat in the car and one sat in your garden. If you haven't done the personal work, the deep work, you'll still find yourself maybe needing obstetrics, which is what you didn't want or thought you hadn't prepared for. You thought you'd prepared well, etc. So, you know, it's just embellishing for, and I hope people hear when you say it's not knowledge that is power, it's applied knowledge.
Yeah, and it's same with doulas as well. I'm going to hire a doula, and this is what I did. I did this. I would have been your worst doula client. I hired a doula on my first little boy, who's now 20, because I thought, that's grand. They look after everything. Yeah, this is like before doulas were really popular, but there's the idea that, it's the silver bullet. That's my safety net. Now I've done that. I have a doula, and I might read a few books and I'm grand. My doula will look after everything else. You know? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm not laughing.
I went to the hospital when I was being a doula.
It's horrible, the outcomes, but Tracy's just saying she did it herself. Look at me with the blind trust. Oh, you need an induction. Oh, okay then. All right. You volunteered because you said it. You know, that was a midwife. And of course, fucked my son's life and my life. You know, this is why I've got, you know, obviously he's recovered. It did take decades. You know, he was an unnecessary induction cascading to a cesarean, because I blindly trusted, never asked any questions, and said, all right. And I didn't even do as much as you. No, but I didn't read a few books.
Oh, I didn't read anything. I might have read What to Expect. I mean, that was the Bible at the time, you know, who didn't have it.
Yeah.
But
so just to say, you know, Tracy and I, we work in different communities, you know, she's across the pond most of the time. We've got the same message. Yeah.
It's the same, and the same problems. We're all facing the same issues. And the same solution is we need parents to really realize how serious this is, and but isn't it so bloody bizarre that you have to do so? Because I remember years ago my granny saying to me, I don't really understand what you do. You're teaching them how to have a baby. Sure, I had, you know, your mother, we had I had all the home births now, and sure, I had your mother, and then I had to get up and make your granddad's tea.
Yeah.
You know? We have to prepare and study and strategize for a physiological process.
But that's only because of the society we're in, where you won't have a granny like yours. You know, I remember I was at a birthday gathering in Dar es Salaam, and there was other African women from other nations as well, and we had a beautiful gathering. And then you had the very city Dar es Salaam, you know, upper class with a bit of money, who you don't have to prepare for childbirth because you buy a cesarean, right? So we had that group, and then you know, to contrast it, you had like women from the Ivory Coast and everything. Where I said, well, my granny, you know, my granny had 20 children at home, so you know, and then like, you know, I don't approve of the getting up the next day. I think we end up dying in our 50s when we do that shit. I think we
next day, it was that evening, you know.
I don't agree with it.
No,
very
no.
ill after our menopause when we do that. I'm more of the, you know, I like the cultures where they keep the woman in bed for 40 days and won't let her wash her own panjay and stuff like that. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, wash me. You know, I'm there. I'm that kind of woman.
Oh.
So you know, I think we can merge everything that we're learning from different cultures, from different countries, and make birth better for families. So I want to know where, tell people where they can find you. You're very well found, I can see, but more people need to know about you, Tracy. And you're very funny.
They can jump over to Instagram on Gentle Birth Official. Email me anytime. I am, like, unfortunately very connected online a lot of the time. But I answer all my own DMs, and
yeah, just have a standing desk or sit on a birth ball or something, you know, just make it healthy, the time that you're spending on your phone. I know. I'm having to bring that in now because I'm kind of blowing up myself now. So I'm spending a lot of time talking, get tired of my own voice. So you do most of your work with Instagram. I see you have an app.
Yeah, so there's the Gentle Birth app. So it's a combination of, we do hypnobirthing, but meditation is a big part of it, because I mean, I trained in kind of traditional hypnobirthing and kind of moved away from that because I wanted to give women and their partners more tools. Yeah. So meditation, we include sports psychology, so that, you know, that success mindset, and the partners, especially the male partners, in Ireland, especially if they're into the sports, that's the piece that really falls into place for them.
It really does. I love it. The sports analogy, it usually gets, you know, thrown in by a partner. Yeah. They'll recognize it. They'll see, oh, so what you're talking about is, and then they'll wade in with the point where they can connect with that.
Yeah.
So it's really, really good. Really good. And I don't want to miss the opportunity for you to express what are the two most important messages that you'd like people to come away from this live with?
Do your homework and trust yourself. Trust that feeling that something's not right, or we've come so far from trusting our own intuition and trusting the external experts. We have lost our connection with our own spirit, and trusting that wisdom that we all carry. It's look outside to everyone else to, you know, save us or to do the work for us. But I think spending some time connecting in with what am I experiencing now, what is happening, and understanding how the brain is it can really mess up your labor if you haven't really trained it in a way that that you go to worst case scenario in labor, you've got to be able to have that control to bring yourself back to centeredness. And because I've people saying, oh, we have to turn off the brain in labor to get to labor land. I'm like, when you're in a busy maternity unit, having a skill like meditation and being able to emotionally regulate yourself,
very good.
That's the way you're going to get to labor land, because you have to be able to center yourself and not just allow the emotion contagion of the nervous energy that's in the room with you. Unless, of course, you get a great midwife who trusts women.
Yeah, birth. Yeah, you might win the lottery and get a great midwife that does that.
No, there are some great
As rare as bees' knees, aren't they? Do bees have knees?
The what?
Do bees have knees?
Do bees?
They're as rare as hen's teeth.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
The rarity of it. Yeah, you don't play the lottery. You know, that's like playing Russian roulette, and you don't want to do that with your baby. You know, do your homework, like she says, and the trust piece is the biggest bit, and trust for yourself. Your partner, if they're there present, need to be trusting you. And yes, you know, trust for the process. It's worked very well for many thousands of years, and if you see it not working so much, you need to join the dots and find out why.
Yeah, women ask questions. Find out what is the cesarean rate in your unit, what is the induction rate in your unit. And if you do have a bad experience, please complain or give feedback or whatever, because the system will only continue to do this as long as we keep accepting it. And they are reliant on women to come out of this experience and be really busy with babies and breastfeeding, so that, you know, in 6 months' time, when that woman has a chance to catch her breath and say, maybe I should do something about that, they're like, oh, but, you know, it's too late now, you know, my baby's okay and time has passed. So please provide your feedback to the unit, because I'm seeing hospitals here that are doing Edinburgh scales the day after labor.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, because they've got to catch you.
My scores are amazing and women are incredibly sad.
It's a strategy. So, you know, again, it may mean another conversation I need to have with you, because they will catch the women the day after, because they're still in their oxytocin bubble. It's not until they get home, or they could be the woman that it took 10 years to talk about their birth experience, which is me. It took me 10 years, right?
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. So personally, my opinion about complaining is, it might be nice for you, cathartic, to write it down, but it will not change the services. The only thing that will change the services is when money isn't coming through the door. Yeah. And for every one of us that doesn't give birth in their service, that is, you know, $3.5 grand or $7 grand less. So I think we need to, but personally in the UK, how I can see it working is if we just stop involving them, stop using their interventions, and stop lying on their surgical tables, then they'll find they're not getting the money in, and then they'll have to convince the government to pay them out for other things. Like, you know, my dream is they get paid double for every vaginal birth, or, you know, they get 10 grand for a water birth if the baby's born in water. You know, how many women, they won't be telling you you're too fat for a pool birth then, will they? You know, I feel like first we've got to take all the money away by just ignoring them, and then if we choose we want to be engaging with them again, we force the government to pay them out on different parameters. Like, you know, you get $1 grand for every minute that baby stays attached to their placenta with no clamp on their cord. Get $1 grand every minute for that.
I like the way
we wait for white all over the place.
Yeah, they'd be sending babies home with lotus birth.
Yeah.
Keep that attached for at least another week, you know, and while the
when it falls off at 4 days, they'll be distraught. Oh man, yeah, I knew it was going to be a joy. You're going to know where to find her, because I'm going to ask her to collaborate with me. You'll find this conversation on her grid and mine. And I'm sorry we didn't get around to your questions, but I really hope you enjoyed the session. Feel free to comment when we've posted it on our grids, and interact there. Love you so much. Thank you for those of you that bought badges. I remember seeing Holly bought a badge. Holly's like one of my favorite moms who had a home birth after 2 cesareans. So yeah. So she aced it. She did the work.
It pays off. And because sometimes people say, well, I did everything and I didn't go to plan, especially if they've done like mental preparation, if they've done hypnobirthing, they've done meditation, what I always try to reassure them is that every minute that you spent not in the stress state, in the fight or flight state, was so good for your baby's
Yeah,
development.
100%.
So good. You
100%.
were marinating your baby in oxytocin every time you sat and listened to that meditation. So what happened?
Instagram's going to cut us off, Tracy.
Oh, okay.
I'll see. It will, because then
Yeah.
leave that to me. Some people get 2 hours. I get 59 minutes. So, yeah, just come and see me next month on here, will you?
Yeah. Let's do it again.
If you've got time. I know.
I'd love to. I'd love to. Yeah. Look, this is the problem. Once people like you and I get talking about birth.
Yeah.